You finish another workout. Your legs feel tired. Your arms are sore. You wipe the sweat from your forehead and think, this has to be working. But a few weeks later, the stairs still feel just as steep. Getting out of a low chair still takes effort. The grocery bags still feel heavier than they should. And when you look in the mirror, you don't see much difference at all. That's confusing. Because everywhere you look, you're told the same thing. If you're over 60, just start lifting weights. It's good advice, but it's also incomplete. Here's what most people never hear. After the age of 60, your body doesn't respond to exercise the way it did at 30 or even 50. The same workout that once built muscle can now produce very little progress if your body isn't prepared to respond. And that has nothing to do with motivation. It isn't because you're lazy. It isn't because you're too old. It's because aging changes the biology of muscle itself. This changes everything. Researchers have spent decades studying why some older adults remain remarkably strong into their 70s and 80s, while others lose muscle year after year despite staying active. The answer wasn't simply exercise. It was how the body prepared for exercise. That's the missing piece. I want you to remember this. Muscle isn't built during your workout. Your workout is only the signal. Whether your body listens to that signal is a completely different story, and after 60, that signal becomes much harder to hear. Now here's where it gets interesting. Imagine knocking on someone's front door. 1 knock, 2 knocks, 3 knocks. Years ago, the door opened immediately. Today, no one answers. Not because no one is home, but because the bell isn't working. That's surprisingly similar to what happens inside aging muscle. Your workout keeps knocking, but the message isn't getting through as efficiently as it once did. Scientists call part of this problem atherosclerotic resistance. It sounds technical, but the idea is surprisingly simple. As you age, your muscles become less sensitive to the signals that tell them to grow. Exercise still matters. Protein still matters. But neither creates the same response they once did. The volume has been turned down. That explains why 2 people can perform the exact same workout, yet experience completely different results. One grows stronger. The other simply becomes tired. Here's what people miss. Many people believe muscle loss begins when they stop exercising. In reality, it often begins much earlier. Starting around your 30s, adults gradually lose muscle mass each decade. After about age 60, that decline accelerates. Researchers refer to this age-related muscle loss as sarcopenia. It's one of the leading causes of frailty, falls, and loss of independence in older adults. The scary part? It happens so slowly that most people never notice it. You don't wake up one morning suddenly weak. Instead, the suitcase feels a little heavier. You avoid taking the stairs. Standing for long periods becomes uncomfortable. You stop kneeling because getting back up isn't as easy anymore. Tiny changes, year after year, until one day they're impossible to ignore. But muscle isn't the only thing changing. Your nervous system changes too. Every movement begins with your brain sending electrical signals through nerves into muscle fibers. When you're younger, those signals travel efficiently. Your muscles respond almost instantly. With age, some of those nerve connections begin to disappear. Others become slower. Communication becomes less reliable. It's like trying to have a phone conversation with a weak signal. Sometimes the message gets through, sometimes it doesn't. Even if your muscles are capable of producing force, they may not receive the strongest possible command from your brain. That's one reason strength declines faster than many people expect. And lifting heavier weights alone doesn't solve it. But here's the thing. Most fitness advice never mentions the nervous system. It focuses only on muscles. Science tells a different story. Researchers studying healthy aging have found that maintaining strength depends on both muscle tissue and the quality of communication between your brain and your muscles. Lose either one, and performance suffers. This is why balance often declines before strength does. It's also why older adults sometimes feel unsteady even when they still have decent muscle size. The problem isn't always the engine. Sometimes it's the wiring. Now consider what happens when someone decides to get healthy. They join a gym. They copy a workout from someone half their age. Heavy squats, fast repetitions, minimal warm-up. Then they wonder why everything hurts. Their knees ache. Their shoulders become stiff. Recovery takes days. Eventually they decide, weightlifting just isn't for me. That's heartbreaking, because the exercise wasn't the problem. The approach was. Here's something researchers at institutions like Tufts University and other aging research centers have consistently shown. Older adults absolutely can build significant strength. They can increase muscle mass, improve bone density, reduce fall risk, and regain independence, even in their 70s, 80s, and beyond. But they don't simply train harder, they train smarter, and that begins before the first repetition, because your body needs something first. It needs to become ready to accept the signal you're about to give it. Think of planting a seed. You wouldn't throw seeds onto dry concrete and expect a garden. You prepare the soil first. Only then do the seeds have a chance to grow. Your muscles work in much the same way. Strength training is the seed, but preparation is the soil. Skip the preparation is the soil. Skip the preparation, and even the best workout can produce disappointing results. Do it correctly, and the exact same workout suddenly becomes dramatically more effective. That's the difference most people never discover, and once you understand what prepares aging muscle to respond again, the entire idea of exercising after 60 begins to look completely different. The first thing you need to understand is that your muscles are never truly finished. Even at 70, even at 80, your body is constantly breaking down old muscle proteins and building new ones. Scientists call this process muscle protein turnover. Think of it as a renovation that never ends. Every day, tiny pieces of muscle are removed. Every day, new ones are built. When you're younger, construction usually wins. The repairs happen quickly. The new muscle is slightly stronger than before. That's how you adapt to exercise. But after 60, the balance begins to shift. Repairs slow down. Construction crews become smaller. The demolition team keeps working. Slowly, almost invisibly, muscle begins to disappear. This is one of the biological foundations of sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength recognized by researchers around the world. But here's what many people miss. Muscle size is only part of the story. Quality matters just as much. Imagine two ropes that look identical from the outside. One is tightly woven with strong fibers. The other has frayed strands hidden inside. They may appear the same, but under pressure, one will fail much sooner. Aging muscles can go through something similar. Even before they become noticeably smaller, they often become less efficient. Fat begins to infiltrate muscle tissue. Connective tissue becomes stiffer. The fibers themselves don't contract with the same speed or force. So even if you haven't lost much muscle, you may still feel weaker. That's why climbing stairs suddenly feels harder, or carrying a grandchild leaves you more tired than it once did. Now here's where it gets interesting. Every time you lift a weight, thousands of microscopic tears form inside your muscle fibers. That sounds alarming, but it's actually part of the plan. Those tiny disruptions tell your body something important. This muscle wasn't strong enough. We need to rebuild it. Specialized cells called satellite cells rush into action. You can think of them as your muscle's repair crew. They help damaged fibers recover. They also help build larger, stronger muscle tissue after training. When you're young, these repair crews respond almost immediately. After 60, they still show up, but fewer of them arrive, and they work more slowly. The repair process becomes less efficient. That's one reason recovery takes longer than it used to. You aren't imagining it. Your biology has changed. This is exactly why lifting hard every single day often backfires for older adults. The body simply doesn't have enough time to finish rebuilding before it's challenged again. More exercise isn't always better. Better recovery often is, but satellite cells aren't the only workers involved. Inside every muscle fiber is a microscopic control center that decides whether muscle should be built or broken down. One of the most important pathways is known as mTOR. mTOR. Think of mTOR as a construction manager. When exercise and protein arrive together, it gives the order to start building. New proteins are assembled, damaged fibers are repaired, strength slowly increases. The remarkable thing is that this system still works after 60. It simply requires a stronger signal. Researchers call this anabolic resistance. Your muscles haven't stopped responding. They've become harder to convince. The same workout, the same meal, the same amount of protein may produce a much smaller response than they did decades earlier. That's why older adults often need higher quality protein and consistent resistance training to stimulate muscle growth effectively. This isn't failure, it's adaptation. Your body has changed the rules, and once you understand those rules, you can work with them instead of fighting them. Here's something researchers at the University of Birmingham, Tufts University, of Tufts University, and other aging research centers have repeatedly demonstrated. Healthy older adults are still capable of increasing muscle size and strength, sometimes dramatically. Even people in their 80s and 90s have shown meaningful improvements with properly designed resistance training programs. That finding surprised scientists. For years, many believed muscle decline was simply unavoidable. But study after study revealed something different. Aging slows the process. It doesn't eliminate it. That distinction is incredibly important because it means your muscles are still listening. They're just asking you to speak more clearly. Now think about what happens after a typical workout. You leave the gym feeling accomplished, but inside your body, something very different is happening. Your muscles are temporarily weaker than before. Tiny fibers have been disrupted. Energy stores have been depleted. Inflammation begins to rise. That sounds negative, but it's actually the first step toward improvement. Only after adequate recovery does the rebuilding begin. If recovery is interrupted, if sleep is poor, if protein intake is too low, if another intense workout arrives too soon, the rebuilding process remains incomplete. Over time, you simply accumulate fatigue instead of strength. This explains why some people exercise consistently for months without seeing meaningful progress. They're excellent at creating the signal, but they're unintentionally blocking the response. I want you to remember this. Exercise doesn't build muscle. Recovery builds muscle. Exercise only gives your body a reason to start. That simple shift in perspective changes almost everything. Now here's where another hidden factor enters the picture. As we age, our fast-twitch muscle fibers begin shrinking faster than slow-twitch fibers. Fast-twitch fibers are responsible for explosive movements. They help you catch yourself when you trip. They help you climb stairs quickly. They help you stand from a chair without using your hands. Losing these fibers doesn't just reduce athletic performance, it increases the risk of falling. And falls remain one of the leading causes of injury and loss of independence in older adults. The good news? Fast-twitch fibers don't disappear because of age alone. They disappear largely because they're no longer challenged. When resistance training is performed correctly, with controlled effort and progressive overload, many of these fibers can be reactivated and strengthened. That's one reason strength training has become one of the most powerful tools in healthy aging. Not because it turns back the clock, but because it reminds your body that these muscles are still needed. However, there's another system quietly influencing every repetition you perform, one that most people never think about. It isn't located inside your muscles. It's inside your brain and nervous system. And unless that system is working with your muscles instead of against them, every workout becomes less effective than it could be. That's the missing connection we'll uncover next. Strength doesn't begin in your muscles. It begins in your brain. Long before your hand grips a dumbbell, long before your legs push against the floor, your brain has already made the first move. Millions of nerve cells fire in carefully timed patterns. Electrical signals race down your spinal cord. They travel through motor nerves, and finally, they reach your muscles with one simple instruction: contract. That entire journey happens in a fraction of a second. When you're young, the system is remarkably efficient. The signal is fast, precise, powerful. Your muscles respond almost instantly, but after 60, the communication network begins to change. Not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily. Some motor neurons, the nerve cells that control muscle fibers, begin to die as a natural part of aging. When that happens, the muscle fibers they controlled are left without a direct connection. Fortunately, your body has a backup plan. Nearby neurons can sometimes adopt those abandoned fibers, reconnecting them to the nervous system. It's an incredible example of the brain's adaptability, but there's a catch. The replacement connections aren't always as fast or as precise as the originals. Movements become less coordinated. Reaction times slow. Fine motor control becomes more difficult. This is one reason opening a tight jar, catching yourself after tripping, or reacting quickly while walking downstairs can suddenly feel more challenging. The issue isn't simply weaker muscles, it's slower communication. Now here's where it gets interesting. Researchers have found that much of the strength gained during the first few weeks of resistance training doesn't come from bigger muscles at all. It comes from the nervous system learning how to use the muscles you already have. The brain becomes better at recruiting muscle fibers. Different muscles begin working together more efficiently. The timing improves. The signal becomes stronger. In other words, your body becomes more skilled before it becomes more muscular. This explains something many older adults notice. Within just a few weeks of starting the right exercise program, everyday tasks begin to feel easier even before any visible muscle growth appears. Standing up from a chair requires less effort. Walking feels more stable. Carrying groceries becomes easier. The improvements are real, but they're happening in your nervous system first. This changes everything, because it means the goal isn't just building muscle. It's rebuilding communication, and that's why jumping straight into heavy lifting often isn't the smartest place to begin. Here's what people miss. Your nervous system needs preparation just as much as your muscles do. Imagine trying to play a difficult piano piece with cold, stiff fingers. You know the notes, but your hands aren't ready. A few minutes of movement changes everything. The same principle applies before strength training. Proper warm-up isn't simply about raising your heart rate. It's about waking up your nervous system. Dynamic movements, gentle mobility exercises, controlled body weight motions, balance drills. These activities increase blood flow, improve joint mobility, and sharpen the communication between your brain and your muscles. By the time you pick up a weight, your body is already prepared to respond. That preparation can improve performance while reducing the risk of injury. Now think about balance. Many people assume balance depends mainly on strong legs. In reality, it's much more complex. Your brain constantly combines information from 3 different systems. Your eyes tell you where you are. Your inner ear senses movement and position. Tiny receptors in your muscles and joints report how your body is aligned. The brain blends all of that information together in real time. If even one system becomes less reliable, balance begins to suffer. Aging affects all 3. Vision changes. The inner ear becomes less sensitive. The receptors in muscles and joints provide weaker feedback. The result? You feel less steady, not necessarily because you're weak, but because your brain has less accurate information to work with. Here's the encouraging news. Balance can improve at almost any age. Simple exercises like standing on one foot, heel-to-toe walking, or controlled step-ups challenge the nervous system to become more efficient again. These exercises don't just strengthen muscles, they retrain the brain, and that makes every strength workout more effective. But here's the thing. Mobility is just as important. Without healthy movement through your joints, your muscles can never produce their full potential. Think of trying to fire a cannon through a narrow tunnel. The power is there, but it has nowhere to go. Tight hips limit squats. Stiff shoulders reduce pressing strength. Restricted ankles affect walking and climbing stairs. Mobility isn't about becoming flexible enough to do yoga poses. It's about giving your muscles the range of motion they need to work safely and effectively. Even 5 to 10 minutes of mobility work before lifting can dramatically improve movement quality. Now let's talk about something almost everyone overlooks: recovery. Many older adults judge a workout by how exhausted they feel afterward. If they're sore for days, they assume it was successful. Science suggests otherwise. Excessive soreness isn't a badge of honor. It's often a sign that recovery demands exceeded recovery capacity. After 60, the body typically needs more time to repair damaged muscle tissue. Hormonal changes, slower protein synthesis, and reduced cellular repair all contribute. That doesn't mean you should exercise less. It means recovery deserves the same attention as training. Sleep becomes more valuable. Protein becomes more important. Rest days become productive rather than lazy. This is where nutrition quietly enters the picture. Exercise creates the demand. Protein provides the raw materials. Without enough high-quality protein, your muscles simply don't have the building blocks needed for repair. Research increasingly suggests that many older adults benefit from consuming around 25 to 40 grams of high-quality protein per meal, depending on body size, activity level, and medical guidance. Spreading that intake across the day appears to stimulate muscle protein synthesis more effectively than eating most of it in one large dinner, and one amino acid deserves special attention: leucine. Found in foods like dairy products, eggs, fish, poultry, lean meat, and soy, Leucine acts like a biological switch that helps activate muscle-building pathways, including mTOR. For aging muscles, that switch becomes increasingly important. Now here's where all these pieces come together. Imagine two people beginning the exact same strength program. The first person skips the warm-up, rarely works on balance, eats very little protein, sleeps poorly, exercises hard every day. The second person spends 10 minutes preparing the nervous system, practices mobility, challenges balance, consumes adequate protein, allows recovery between sessions. Both lift the same weights, who becomes stronger. Almost always, it's the second person, not because they worked harder, because their body was prepared to respond. That's the secret hidden inside decades of aging research. Strength isn't created by effort alone. It's created when biology and training work together. And once that happens, something remarkable begins to occur. The body regains abilities many people assumed were gone forever. Climbing stairs becomes easier. Walking becomes more confident. Getting up from the floor no longer feels intimidating. Everyday life starts requiring less effort. The weights in the gym matter. But what you do before, between, and after those lifts often matters even more. And that brings us to the simple, three-step approach that transforms resistance training after 60 from frustrating to remarkably effective. The good news is that you don't need a complicated program. You don't need to spend hours in the gym. And you certainly don't need to train like you did at 30. What you need is the right sequence, because after 60, the order matters just as much as the exercises themselves. Think of it as building a house. You don't start with the roof. You begin with a solid foundation. Strength works the same way. So here's the three-step protocol that brings together everything we've covered. Step 1. Prepare your body before you ask it to perform. Ask. Spend 5 to 10 minutes moving before you touch a weight. Walk at an easy pace. March in place. Circle your shoulders. Mobilize your hips and ankles. Perform a few controlled bodyweight squats or sit-to-stands. Practice standing on one leg while holding a stable surface if needed. These simple movements increase blood flow, wake up your nervous system, and improve communication between your brain and your muscles. It may not feel like part of your workout, but biologically, it's one of the most important parts. Step 2. Focus on quality before quantity. Choose exercises that mimic everyday life. Squats help you stand from a chair. Rows strengthen the muscles that support good posture. Push-ups against a wall or bench improve pushing strength. Step-ups prepare you for stairs. Farmers' carries improve grip, balance, and core stability. Instead of chasing heavy weights immediately, aim for controlled movements with proper technique. Leave 1 or 2 repetitions in the tank rather than pushing every set to complete exhaustion. Research consistently shows that progressive overload gradually increasing the challenge over time is what drives long-term strength gains. That increase doesn't always have to come from adding more weight. Sometimes it's another repetition, a slower lowering phase, better control, or improved range of motion. Small improvements add up. Step 3. Recover with purpose. Ask. Your workout ends when you leave the gym. Your progress does not. Prioritize 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep whenever possible. Eat enough high-quality protein throughout the day. Allow at least 1 full day of recovery between training the same muscle groups. Gentle walking or light mobility work on rest days keeps blood flowing without interfering with recovery. Remember, your muscles don't grow while you're lifting. They grow while you're recovering. Now let's talk about expectations. One of the biggest reasons people quit is because they expect visible changes too quickly. The first improvements usually aren't seen, they're felt. Within the first week, many people notice better coordination and smoother movement. That's your nervous system adapting. Over the next 2 to 4 weeks, everyday activities often begin to feel easier. Standing, walking, climbing stairs, carrying groceries. These are signs that your body is becoming more efficient. Visible increases in muscle size generally take longer. Around 6 to 12 weeks of consistent training, nutrition, and recovery, many older adults begin noticing measurable strength gains and physical changes. The timeline isn't identical for everyone. Age, previous activity level, medical conditions, nutrition, medications, and sleep all influence progress. The important thing is consistency. not perfection. Now here's where many people accidentally sabotage themselves. They make one of several common mistakes. The first is doing too much, too soon. Motivation is highest during the first week, so they train every day, push every set, ignore soreness. Within 2 weeks, they're exhausted or injured. Consistency disappears. The second mistake is avoiding strength training altogether because they're afraid of getting hurt. Ironically, avoiding resistance training often increases the risk of weakness, falls, and loss of independence over time. The third mistake is neglecting nutrition. You can't build a brick wall without bricks. Likewise, your muscles can't rebuild without adequate protein and overall nutrition. The fourth mistake is comparing yourself to someone decades younger. Your journey isn't about competing with a 25-year-old. It's about becoming stronger than you were yesterday. That's a goal biology still supports, even after 60, even after 70, and in many cases, even beyond 80. Study after study has shown that older adults can improve strength, mobility, and quality of life through well-designed resistance training. Organizations such as the American College of Sports Medicine and the National Institute on Aging continue to recommend strength training as one of the most effective tools for healthy aging. Not because it stops aging, nothing can do that, but because it helps you age with greater resilience. And perhaps that's the most important distinction of all. The goal isn't to look younger. The goal is to live better, to climb the stairs without thinking twice, to carry your own groceries, to travel, to play with your grandchildren, to get up from the floor confidently, to keep your independence for as long as possible. Those moments rarely make headlines, but they define everyday life. So, let's go back to the question we started with. Why does lifting weights seem to do nothing after 60? The answer is, it doesn't. Your body hasn't stopped responding. It simply responds differently. Aging changes the rules. Your muscles need a clearer signal. Your nervous system needs preparation. Your body needs adequate protein. Your recovery needs more respect. When those pieces come together, strength training becomes far more than an exercise routine. It becomes a way of preserving freedom. Because every stronger step, every confident movement, every grocery bag you lift, every staircase you climb, is really about something much bigger than muscle. It's about protecting the life you've spent decades building. And that's why the most important thing to do before lifting weights after 60 is preparing your body to benefit from every single repetition.